I never thought when I started medical school about 4 years ago that I would stand here on this stage today and look at you.
So what do you think we're going to talk about right now?
Probably some elaborate talk about a new fancy medical field, but well, then I'm probably going to disappoint some of you guys. We're not going to talk about any fancy new medical discovery or any new genetic therapy, but instead we want to talk about something lying deep underneath these green scrubs. Yes, we are medical students, and we are Danish, but what we actually want is to take you on a creative journey through our parallel lives, such as medical wall artists.
Right. So, you probably all know the old cartoons where the main character is running and he suddenly reaches a cliff and he runs off the cliff. And for a brief moment, he just hovers in the air, keeps on running, not noticing that he has absolutely no safe ground beneath his feet. And only when he looks down and realizes that he's standing in free air, only then does he fall. But right now, we feel like that guy. Let's call him Marvin, the guinea pig. But being a wall painter, a wall artist, is like being Marvin from that cartoon. You constantly keep running off cliffs, not knowing if you're going to fall or you're going to make it to the other side of the canyon.
In our everyday lives as medical students, we stay on the safe ground. There's nearly always one solution to every problem we got. The natural laws govern, and we stay on a road which is clearly signed informing us go from point A to point B. When creating an idea for a mural, we exist in a moment where these natural laws doesn't exist. But
right now, no natural laws exist.
yeah,
Believe that.
I round off that cliff. But we get off that road to dissolve the laws that govern and another way we're used to thinking.
Yeah. Probably some of you know the situation of you're at a party, you might have a few drinks, a few beers, and you're leaving to go home. And about halfway home, you look down only to realize, you took the wrong pair of shoes. You took someone else's shoes. And have you know that feeling? Well, I do. And that guy, he does. And actually, a few years into medical school, yeah, I felt like that. I felt like that guy. I felt like I took the wrong pair of shoes on. And actually, that's the time when I did this drawing. I hadn't been drawing for many years, and this was the first drawing I did. And drawing it, I realized that it wasn't that I was wearing the wrong pair of shoes, but more that I'd been walking in the same pair of shoes for too long. So why only walk in the same pair of shoes all your life? Drawing, for us, is a way to change shoes, or maybe even wear a different shoe, one on each foot.
Why not wear sunny flip-flops and rainbow rain boots?
It's a way for us to interpret our lives, our thoughts, and our emotions from another perspective.
But drawing is not the only way to understand ourselves. It's a childlike investigation driven by curiosity of experiencing new aspects long forgotten. Sometimes we discover something new, or sometimes we recall something old, like an old pair of shoes. But running off that cliff, we not always reach the other side of the canyon safely. And falling down in this abyss, it hurts. And maybe you even break a leg or two.
But don't worry, Kasper, because, you know, we have 206 bones in our bodies. So even if we do fall, and even if we do break a bone or two, you still got plenty of bones left And you can all trust me on that. I used to be his old anatomy teacher. So, yeah. But drawing is not the only way that we could have used to achieve this feeling of straying from the straight path. We might as well have taken up poetry or novel writing or maybe even music.
But looking back at both of our childhoods, it's obvious why we chose to draw.
That's Kasper, the naked guy.
Yeah, of course, but a bit younger than now. Way too excited to draw an odd-looking dinosaur. But secondly, looking at this picture, you can see 3 things we learned so far. 1, if you need to make great art, you need to change perspective once in a while to get a better overview of drawing, like I do when I raise from my chair. 2, practice makes perfect.
Maybe we should have practiced.
Yeah. Like my mother always told me, hold on properly to your marker and work hard. As a former art teacher, she saw this as a great skill of importance for young children to master. 3, and last, 2 minds are stronger than 1. In that way, you can be inspired and reflect in the other person's otherness, and may even embrace it.
No. But like the 3 important lessons from Kasper's childhood, our journey towards being wall artists can also be divided into 3 separate steps. The first step was inspiration. The second step was finding a structure and an expression. And the third step was re-challenging ourselves. The first step was finding out that we had ideas and thoughts in our head that needed to be expressed. As you can see from the picture, this happened way before we even met. But imagine, it's a strange thing when an idea forms in your head. Imagine you have a rock. This is a rock. It's actually a pointer, but it is a rock. It's floating in space. That space is your mind, and the rock is an idea. When the rock is affected by an external force, it will start moving. That external force can be anything. It could be any spark, a song, a pun, an image, or even that girl that you just passed on the street with those big blue eyes. But once moving, the rock will keep on moving. It will hit new rocks. These new rocks will start moving and hit even new rocks, like a chain reaction. And the only thing that can stop these rocks is something big enough. And for us, that big enough is a wall, as you can see in the lobby.
The second step we said together, and the second step was structuring and figuring out how to express our ideas. We shared this step in an ill-lit corner of an East Side Berlin cafe. Actually, at that moment, we didn't know each other that well, but by strange coincidence, we found both of ourselves in Berlin during a summer vacation at the same time and just ran into each other on the street. And over several cups of coffee and more mugs of beer, we discovered our shared passion for drawing. And since I've been living in Berlin, I knew my way around the street art area.
Yeah, so Kasper instantly dragged me to this giant wall painting just near the River Spree. And in front of this, that's, by the way, Kasper, again, the cool guy in front of the wall painting. And in front of this wall painting, we shared an epiphany, a revelation. This was what we wanted to do. What really inspired us about this painting or this form of art was the accessibility. It was art meant for everyone, not just a museum or something like that. But also we were inspired by the temporary aspect of the art. Art on the street is constantly moving and changing directions, just like that rock in outer space.
And that's what we like. We like to inspire, and we like to create imaginative pictures for our viewers, and maybe give them the same feeling as we got in Berlin. And one situation comes to mind. When I was sitting doodling in my local coffee shop in Copenhagen, preparing pictures for exhibition, a little girl, face painted like a tiger, starts sneaking towards me. Closer and closer she got, without saying anything. Just in the moment she stood right in front of me, and just looking with those big starry eyes, I just passed her a blank paper, and she grabbed the orange marker and drew me a princess and a cat. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The childlike curiosity we strive for. And maybe help people to laugh, or may somehow connect to what we are feeling, or maybe get inspired to do something themselves. Like we felt in Berlin.
The third part of our journey was when we figured out that we had to keep challenging ourselves. This part happened when we had our first big paint job, and that happened at Roskilde Festival. And it was a 75-meter large wall we had to cover. So, this was kind of like preparing this speech. This was the first time that we really had to run off that cliff and plunge into the unknown, and we were dead nervous as we are now, obviously. So, standing in front of that great big black abyss of a wall, we felt amazed and absolutely terrified. And armed with only markers, graffiti markers as you can see here, and spray cans, and just the feeble trust that we just might make it, we charged right in. Right. So only a few minutes before, and that's one of the paintings, a small part of the wall, so only a few minutes before before the festival opened to the public and our piece was due, we put on the last line. And standing, for a moment, we'd lost our footing. And we plunged into the unknown, and we weren't sure if we were going to make it or not. But somehow, we made it to the other side of that canyon. And standing in front of that piece we made, we felt overwhelmed that we had been able to make something that we didn't thought we were able to do. And we brought a quote. To dare is to lose your footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose yourself. And that's why step 3 is the most important step of them all. And also, it's a step that never ends. You have to keep diving in, charge over that abyss, ready to free fall, or else you'll never make it to the other side of that canyon.
But if you do fall, we always have each other to pick each other up. Thank you.
Thank you.